What is the role of the project manager in an Agile environment? Hello, my friends. I've been asked this question many times. What is the role of the project manager in an Agile environment? It's a great question, one that deserves a thoughtful exploration. So today, I want us to unpack this together. Let's begin by painting the contrast between traditional and Agile project management. In a traditional environment, what some may call predictive, the project manager is at the forefront of the planning process. In fact, they are typically responsible for most, if not all, of the planning work. They create the schedule, manage the scope, control the budget, assign resources, and oversee risk and communication. The project manager, in this world, is essentially the hub around which all spokes of the project turn. But in Agile, things look very different. First, let's clarify terminology. Many people use the word waterfall to refer to anything traditional or predictive, but that's actually incorrect. Waterfall is a specific project lifecycle that involves cascading phases. Not every predictive approach is waterfall, and not every waterfall approach is purely linear. So for clarity, let's use the proper term, traditional or predictive. In the world of Agile, planning is no longer the domain of just one individual. It becomes a team activity. The planning responsibility is distributed, and the team, empowered and self-organizing, collaboratively plans the work. So, while in traditional environments planning is heavily PM-driven, in Agile, it is team-driven. That's a foundational shift. Now let's talk about leadership. In a traditional setup, the project manager is often at the center of everything. They lead from the middle, directing the work, managing the flow of communication, and owning the lion's share of accountability. They're the go-to person, the main driver, the visible leader. But in Agile, leadership becomes decentralized. The project manager no longer sits in the middle of the wheel. Instead, they take a seat within the circle. Responsibility and accountability also shift. In predictive models, the PM carries the weight of delivery. Everything from schedule to cost, quality, risk, resources, and stakeholder communication is under their purview. But in Agile, those responsibilities are owned by the team. Agile emphasizes collective ownership, cross-functional collaboration, and self-management. So, does that mean the project manager has no place in Agile? Not at all. The project manager does have a place, but it's a different kind of place. Instead of being the central force, they become part of the ecosystem. In a traditional setting, the project manager might be likened to a rock star, front and center, directing every aspect. But in Agile, that project manager becomes a servant leader, not commanding from the front, but supporting from within. In this model, the project manager asks a different set of questions. What can I do to help you today? How can I make things easier for the team? What obstacles can I remove? How can I support the team while staying out of the way when I need to? The project manager in Agile environments becomes a facilitator, a blocker remover, and often a liaison between the team and the broader business. While the Agile team is focused on delivering value through working software or deliverables, the project manager might still carry certain business-facing responsibilities. They help manage escalations, report statuses and budgets to executive stakeholders, and ensure that communication flows smoothly across departments, especially in organizations that are still transitioning from traditional to Agile ways of working. This doesn't erase the role of the Scrum Master where Scrum is practiced. The Scrum Master continues to serve the team by removing impediments and fostering an environment for agility. However, when both roles exist, they often collaborate. The Scrum Master and the Project Manager can form a powerful partnership, especially in hybrid organizations. The Scrum Master focuses on coaching and process facilitation, while the Project Manager may take on broader coordination, budgeting, and strategic reporting. To reinforce this idea, I'd like to read a few passages from the PMI Agile Practice Guide, a trusted reference that sheds more light on this subject. In section 4.2.2 on page 37 it says, "The role of the project manager in an Agile project is somewhat of an unknown because many Agile frameworks and approaches do not address the role of the project manager. Some Agile practitioners think the role of a project manager is not needed due to self-organizing teams taking on the former responsibilities of the project manager. However, pragmatic Agile practitioners and organizations realize that project managers can add significant value in many situations." That last part is key. Project managers can add significant value, but the nature of that value changes. On the following page, the guide further states, "Many project managers are accustomed to being at the center of coordination for the project, tracking and representing the team status, to the rest of the organization. This approach was fine when projects were decomposed into siloed functions. However, in high-change projects, there's more complexity than one person can manage. Instead, cross-functional teams coordinate their own work and collaborate with the business representative, the product owner. Here lies the core shift. In Agile projects, the project manager moves from being the focal point to being a supporter of both the team and management. The project manager becomes a coach, a connector, and a value enabler, encouraging shared ownership and enabling others to shine. This is true servant leadership. Now let's take this discussion one step further and talk about the role of the Project Management Office, PMO, in Agile environments. Some people ask, what's the point of a PMO if we're Agile? Or, what should an Agile PMO look like? According to the Agile Practice Guide, Chapter 6, page 81, the PMO doesn't disappear, it evolves. It becomes a shepherd of business value across the organization. Rather than mandating processes and templates, the PMO in an Agile setting helps teams meet their goals, educates them when needed, supports leadership through coaching, and advises on business value priorities. This Agile PMO operates more like a consulting service. It tailors support based on the needs of different teams or projects. Sometimes it's about providing tools and templates. Other times it's about executive coaching or stakeholder engagement. Its success lies in listening closely to its internal customers, teams, leaders, departments, and delivering what brings true value. This Agile PMO isn't about imposing busy work. In fact, one thing to avoid at all costs is what I call BW syndrome, busy work syndrome. That's when a team fills out templates that no one reads, attends meetings that provide no value, or performs tasks that don't align with actual delivery. Agile PMOs avoid this by staying connected to their customers and evolving with the organization's needs. An Agile PMO is multidisciplinary. It contributes to training, standard development, cross-project coordination, and organizational learning. It identifies leadership gaps and invests in mentoring, coaching, and people development. It helps with staffing decisions and even supports execution of specialized initiatives. And all of this circles back to our central point. The project manager does have a role in Agile, but it is a different role. It is one that requires humility, flexibility, and a strong commitment to enabling others. It's a shift from being the one who runs the show to being the one who supports the performers. So whether you're in a PMO or a standalone Agile team, the message is clear. Project managers are not obsolete in Agile. They're evolving. I hope you found this discussion insightful. If you did, be sure to stay tuned for more deep dives into the world of Agile, leadership, and project management. And remember, the best leaders in Agile are those who ask, how can I help? I'll see you in the next video.